What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part 2 of my Total War Warhammer 3 modded King Louen campaign. So as we saw last time, a pretty decent start for Couronne as we were able to take Marienburg within the first few turns, and on top of that destroy the army of the Skull Smashers, which means Grungzint will be ours this turn, assuming that we win the battle, but I'm reasonably sure that we will. Plenty of peasant deaths have brought us this far, and plenty more peasants will die to bring us further. Anyway, before we get started, as you guys have reminded me in the comments of the previous episodes, I have not yet given a vow to the Paladin Matthias here, so we're obviously going to pledge to chivalry once again to get that 5 times rank up quest, because that's the easiest one, and especially at low ranks, and then that'll give us the armor, leadership, and valor buff. So pledge to chivalry as it should be. And then the same thing goes for the Trough of Avril Mercier. We should probably pledge you to chivalry as well. We could pledge you to order when a building completes construction, but you're probably going to be following Louen around until he gets a damsel of life. So let's go chivalry as well and level you up. Alrighty, easy enough there. Now we'll probably want to attack. I'm wondering whether we should cancel these and just go over here and build a couple of shielded peasants, but you know what, who knows, we may need them for Fort Bray and then whatever we do through it. So instead, let's attack again. Alrighty, 2 Grungzint we go, apparently a Pyrrhic victory, and ooh, some boar boys for some cavalry action. Gotta love it. Here we go. Alright, well, the lady may protect you, but the peasants are woefully unprotected. Anyway, here we go. We start the battle against an orc miner settlement, and interestingly enough, they have 2 tier 4 catapult towers. Now, I know that these are easier to build in SFO, but 2 of them? How do they get enough supply to be able to build 2? Curious, and not that it'll matter much, of course, as our Pegasus Knights are very well adept at knocking these out and before they can really achieve too much. There we go. And oh damn, I forgot to get the mod that changes the towers to appear of the same build as the faction. But oh well, not a big deal. Doesn't bother me that much, just a little bit. And they do go down fairly quickly, so it's not like it'll matter all that much. Anyway, here we go. That is the beginning of the battle, but we will move our Pegasus Knights away, and Louen, his paladin, and and the knights are gonna move on into a fight against those boar boys. In the dark, unfortunately, it looks like we've rolled ourselves a darker map this time around, but at least we can see the light in the darkness being the glowing swords for the paladins, which is neat, if nothing else. I don't think there's a lot of dark maps in Bretonnia, so this is probably going to be a reasonably rare occurrence. Anyway, while the knights hold off the boar boys, the peasant archers will continue applying with their judicious application of bows, or arrows rather. Though as to the effectiveness, well, I guess it remains to be seen. Fortunately, the anti-large of the Knights of the Realm is working, and it looks like the enemy boar boys are out, and we're moving Knights Errant in as well, charging through all those error boys that were trying to support the enemy knights. Or, well, boar boys. And between the Pegasus Knights and the Knights Errant here, all those poor range units are going to be shattered extremely quickly. Especially without tower support, we are not too concerned. A wind blast coming in, doing decent damage, if nothing else, to the orc boys, though a little bit less so to the boar boys. Alrighty, Paladin and Louen easily spottable in the melee by their glowing swords, though it remains very difficult to see what the heck is going on in there. I guess for this one battle we'll do a little bit more visible banners and a little bit less of the cinematic shots. I do wish that it could get a little bit brighter rather. And this is with reshade, mind you. Reshade makes it easier to see the action in the dark maps than usual. And well, you can to some degree see it. The orcs in particular, both of their they're invisible, basically. Their armor especially. You can at least make out the green skins, but not so much the armor. Anyway, with the enemy archers destroyed, we charge in with the Knights Errant into the flanks and rear of the Orc Boys and Boar Boys. Up here we have our Pegasus Knights continuing to do their work and knocking out those Night Goblin archers so that they don't fire down on our units over here. Looks like the melee is just an absolute blender of knights and their lances here. And it looks like the orcs are done for, at the very least, in the entrance to this particular settlement. Now that's only the beginning of the battle, however, as we do still have plenty more to clear our way through. Charge right into the middle of another unit of orcs, and there we go, plenty go flying. And let's see the damage there. Actually, wasn't as much as I'd like. I guess we didn't have enough time to generate enough speed to dish out enough damage, but that's okay. It's hardly surprising in the middle of a miner settlement. Not only is the pathing still atrocious, but obviously there's not a lot of room to wheel and maneuver for a knight in these narrow... I don't really want to call them streets, but yeah. Narrow paths around the miner's settlement. Anyway, continue your lance work against the, very nice, against the Orc Boys, but it looks like they're gonna be out of here soon. And then there will be, what, 6 units remaining on the field. Plus, of course, the enemy Orc War Boss and Black Orc Big Boss, which will still be very much a concern. Anyway, the Knights continue making use of their momentum to go after more of the enemy Orcs, though I think perhaps it would have been better to just back them off a little bit, allow the range units to move into position, and allow the knights to rest. For those not super familiar in SFO, vigor is not as important in vanilla, but in SFO, low vigor is... it causes some pretty crazy debuffs, and is very much something you want to pay attention to. So the fact that our knights are very tired is going to make them a lot less effective in melee. And in general. Alrighty, as to whether they'll be able to take on the Orc Boys, I think there was an Orc Boys Biggins in here somewhere, but we might have already destroyed them right here. I guess we didn't destroy it, and they're in fact so far untouched, which means they'll still be able to contribute pretty well to this fight. Alrighty, our peasants are trying to loop around so that they don't get in the way of the knights back here. And the knights are going to back off a little bit while Louen and his paladin cover their retreat, and just so that they can cycle charge a little bit. Back off and charge back in. And there we go. Not to worry, the other 2 battles that we're going to have in this episode, just speaking about the future here, are going to be on non-dark maps. And they're going to be pretty glorious as well. Spoilers. Alrighty, now we've looped around and are charging up the ramp a little bit, although the enemy Biggins do stand in our way. At least we can now start hitting these orcs from various directions. Also, of course, every time the damsel charges up her wind blast, we can do quite a bit of damage to the fairly tight formations that the enemies have been forced into. If nothing else, our units, while being a little bit slow to kill them because we can't maneuver point here are at the very least good at boxing them in, and both via the fact that there's a lot of them and the fact that we have more mass on the mounts. We're also taking position up here, or moving in, though we do have a single unit that we'll have to deal with. Now, we can see a little bit better here as the Orc boys start fighting against some... ouch. That looked painful. Fighting against the peasants as well as the archers, but the archers should have no problem in dealing with a single unit of boys. Alright, it just looks like arrows dropping into a dark blob on the map. Well, that darkness is blood this time around, a bloody blob on the map as the Orc boys are seen off and the enemy continues to lose ground. The bounce power is about 85 maybe percent in our favor. And now we just have to take care of these guys, who are still holding the ground, and of course the Black Orc boss, Big Boss, and the Orc War Boss have arrived. Honestly, it's so dark I can't even tell if this is Louen or if this is a Paladin. Pretty sure it's the Paladin. Yeah. Oh, Lowen's back there. He had to back off a little bit as he's down to about 30% of his HP, and while that's certainly enough to fight one of the enemy lords or heroes, the problem there is the fact that he would then get even further damaged, and this would be, let's say, not super usable in the next battle. Only we had some kind of flares. And, oh right, this is that odd map where the darkness is essentially, it moves with the camera. So if you back away, it's all light. And then you move in like this, and it's dark again. Which is kind of interesting, I'm not entirely sure why. I guess the light source is behind the mountains somewhere, not overhead, but why would it be darker over now? Well, whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyway, Louen gonna back off a bit again with the Paladin as we move further in, but now we have the appropriate position. All of the peasant archers have... Oh, this actually looks pretty nice. The caverns with the fog up above. Anyway, all the peasant archers have taken position up above and are just going to rip the enemy apart with arrow fire. Of course, they're gonna rip apart a few of their peasant friends with arrow fire as well. These spearmen at arms are nearly dead, for example, but that's okay. It's certainly a sacrifice we will always be willing to make. And there we go, looks like the orcs are milling around, both the regular orc boys and the biggins. They don't know what to do anymore as the arrows reap a fearsome toll among them, and it looks like the enemy Black Orc, Big Boss, and Orc War Boss are done, which means the rest of the battle is done as well. Beautiful. Alright, certainly took a little bit of damage, causing a close victory, primarily because of the minor settlement, but at the very least, we managed to pull it off, and we still have to remember that our knights are buffed with regards to their casualty replenishment, so they should replenish just fine. Alrighty, there we go. A few peasants lost along the way, and Louen once again a little bit damaged, but it's all good. We should be able to heal up, well, I'm back to at least half HP, and we're gonna occupy the place. Alright, Skull Smash is destroyed. Fantastic, and hey, we got that Barded Warhorse for Florence, which we definitely needed as she was not able to reposition herself in good... Dead. Maybe we'll want to build something. I was about to say a military structure or two here, but the thing is, we won't actually be able to make good use of it, will we? Because it's a yellow territory, and this will take twice as long. Okay, we'll just ignore it for now. We'll see. It'll still be used for something, because Blackstone Post and Carrick Ziflin should also be taken as well. We should probably allow these guys to destroy Carrick Ziflin, though. That is also going to be a concern. But anyway, I believe we are good this turn, are we not? Let's select a new tech, which is going to be improved construction. as well. 10% construction cost faction-wide is quite nice. Let's agree. As for Louen, he does have the ladies' champion now, so a little bit of healing. Well, well, well. That is definitely what we're gonna pick. That regen is gonna be super valuable. And then I think at this point we're gonna start saving points for some of the good stuff, and that we'll be able to acquire. Upkeep plus 8% for non-knight units. Ouch. But considering the cost of peasants is fairly low, that's not a big deal either. Alrighty, we should also level up the damsel here for replenished troops. Yes, more healing, please. And we most definitely need it. And I believe that's all. Okay, wait. I was gonna say we should upgrade Longyi, but we can't do it right now anyway, so we shall wait. Reichland is not yet ready for trade, but perhaps next turn, once we have the Cinnabar mine at Marienburg up and running, we'll be able to do it. End turn. Let's see if Heinrich KEMMLER also does anything. He is, technically speaking, within range of Longyi, so we should be wary of him suddenly attacking us, but, well, right now it's not a concern, even if we lose it. Alright, and we do want, yes, SFO mod menu available, thank you. We do want to take Fort Berg-Bray, so that we have the pass through the mountains. And thus we're going to attack it. I was thinking about maybe leaving it alone, but I think it would be better to have it rather than being forced to loop around this way every single time, you know? Alrighty, Louen, to Fort Berg-Bray you go. And Avril Mercier, you are going to follow along as well in a second. Alright, and this is actually going to be a much tougher battle than it looks like, because it is a fort after all. Alright, we're gonna pop you 2 peasant units in there, and we will keep Avril Mercier in right here. We should also upgrade Longyi, but do we invest in this right now when it's possible that KEMMLER would attack? Well, let's risk it. If he doesn't attack, it's not a waste, right? Then... there it is. Trade agreement now available. Nearly ready for military access, but we'll just do the trade agreement. Pretty important to be friendly with the Empire. Bastogne is also good to go for some trade. And they will probably get destroyed. Here's a question about Bastogne. Will they, by virtue of their existence... Wait, 1 second. I'm wondering whether... No, we do have Heraldry of Bastogne here. I'm wondering whether the Wood Elves hate Bastogne or whether they like them. And I don't know what the answer to that is. I guess it's temporary trade agreement. It's not like we're going to attack them either way. Give us money. There we go. A tithe, or whatever you want to call it, the king deserves the money. Not like it's gonna go to peasants. Fort Berg-Bray, time to attack. We got executed captives, and it shouldn't be too problematic. We just gotta be careful about being shot up from the walls. Here we go again.
Glory to Bretonnia!
Alrighty, here we go, nice and bright at Fort Berg-Bray, as our peasants are going to cause a nice distraction for us. We're sending the peasants up the walls to distract the enemy, while the peasant bows lay down their withering support fire. Now, this should be pretty interesting, as it is a fort, and thus we're going to have to make it through the walls, as well as through the gate, and in SFO, gates are a lot harder to bring down if you don't have a ram. They take quite a bit of time with their 30,000 HP. All of our heroes, or our lord and heroes, are going to move towards the gate and start working on it, while our knights are waiting back here to move through the gate once it goes down. The first thing on the order of business, or the first order of business, whatever, is having the Pegasus Knights move on in and go after those mortars. Fortunately, the mortars appear to be targeting the Pegasus Knights, and frankly, so are a decent amount of the enemy crossbows and handguns, which does make sense, as they are so threatening to the enemy range units. but with the mortars at Alright, and oh wow, one of those guys got back up. Wow, that was bizarre. Doing a little dance. Alrighty, well, we're spreading the love of the lady, by which we mean death. The enemy mortars were very much a threat to our peasants, as a single mortar would probably have been able to destroy the entire pile. But that's okay. The lances of the Pegasus Knights will take care of the mortars, and then hunt for the enemy isolated range units as well as the enemy towers. As for our range units, they will be trying to focus down enemy range units as well, while the crossbows are distracted and trying to attack our Pegasus Knights, and having done, you know, 25% damage is not too bad. They have turned their backs and are going to take a decent amount of damage from the peasant bows instead of exchanging fire. The gate is only a third of the way through, or nearly a third of the way through, I suppose, and still going to take a while yet. Not to worry, the distractions are climbing up. I like the little fleur-de-lis on the ladders there. I take it that the Empire ladders have eagles on them. I gotta double check. Alrighty, well, and the enemy pikes are still turned around, so hey, maybe the peasants can do some decent work here while they distract the enemy. Of course, they won't win up here, but they don't need to win. Alrighty, keep on distracting, and besides, the longer these guys stand still, the more damage they'll take to the peasant bowmen as well. The Pegasus Knights are flying overhead. They've taken out one tower and are about to take out the second. It looks like our bowmen have managed to take out one of the enemy crossbows, and the other two units of crossbows, which are conveniently standing beside each other here, are going to follow suit as well. At the very least, hopefully. There is a range exchange going on now, after all. And thus we will... well, these guys are more heavily armored than the peasant bows, after all. Let's see, 15 versus 45. Pretty big difference, but we have larger numbers of peasant bows focusing individual units, so hopefully the crossbows will be brought down. Let's see what's going on up here. One of the peasants is, or one of the men-at-arms is having a pretty bad day, but they are still fighting. And there are plenty of men-at-arms where that came from. They're being slowly surrounded and destroyed. But that is their lot in life, and frankly, dying in combat for their lord is probably one of the best ways for them to go. Much better than living as a peasant. Alrighty, how are we doing over in that? And the gate has just broken through, which means Louen and the damsel and the paladin are all streaming into the city. They had 2 units of handgunners right outside the gate, perhaps hoping to fire upon the units as they broke through, but the cavalry were far too fast. And this means we simply distract the enemy handguns with our fast movers, while the Pegasus Knights and the regular Knights all stream into the city. The gates are open, and now the battle will be ours as soon as we can kill everything down there. Alright, a little bit more distraction time from the peasants. I guess this one is the peasants' show, in the sense that yes, the Knights will carry the day. But they were only able to, in this particular case, because the peasants distracted the enemy. Not that the Knights would ever admit it, mind you. Alright, it looks like one of the men-at-arms units has routed, but not to worry, all the Knights are in the city now. The handgunners, or at least one of the units of handgunners, has been destroyed, and it looks like the second one has been as well. We had to focus those down, as obviously the handguns are the biggest threat to the Knights. And now the Knights can move in and start working on the rest of the enemy units. Alright, there we go, back into lance formation and through those pikes. Smashing them right into the wall there. Alrighty, and on top of that, this will force them to turn their backs such that our crossbows, or our bowmen rather, can continue firing into the backs and sides of the enemy, rather than our own units. Alright, how are the units on the walls? Oh wow, look at that. 2 of the units of men-at-arms are still up here. And oh my, this one actually seems to have managed to more or less pull it off. Granted, probably by virtue of the arrows destroying the pikes, but nonetheless. And they still did good work. Alrighty, now it has become the Knights show, as they just had to destroy the rest of the enemy melee troops. But the fort has effectively fallen. Pegasus Knights flying overhead, lances poking away for another few seconds, but I do believe that the battle's just about ours. Chain route in a second, and there it is. Fantastic. Ooh, look at the landing of those Pegasus Knights, just one more charge. That's what I wanted to see. Imagine if the units flying off the walls could crush other units if they were to hit them. Would have been funny if a bunch of peasants got crushed that way. Everybody would be amused, I'm sure. Anyway, there we go, a decisive victory. The fort is ours, and the way through the mountains unlocked. Alrighty, there we go. So falls the fort, and all it cost us was, what, 685-ish peasants, which was definitely a bargain. And you got an errantry banner, a charge bonus increase, and charge bonus plus 10%. And give this to the Pegasus Knights, perhaps, or one of the other units. Well, I'll figure it out. Did you get any XP? I guess we're about to find out. And on top of that, Louen is now at full HP, which is fantastic. That regen coming in real handy, and we don't have to worry about him being hurt anymore. We'll be saving the rest of his points because they're going to be, well, very useful. And it looks like the peasants will be more or less full HP by the time we're done. I do have to wonder whether KEMMLER will deign to attack us next, but, well, I guess we'll find out. Let's level everybody else up, just in case he does, however. Foe Seeker for you, Matthias. Florence, you can have... Well, let's start going through Curse of the Midnight Wind, I guess. It'll certainly make our peasants a little bit more viable, as they won't die with, well, as easily. Then... You're really willing to peace out? 7.5k, eh? We're not at war with anybody else. You could do a non-aggression pact. Alright, we'll peace out for now. We'll probably redeclare war on them, but this is a significant amount of money at very little cost to us right now, especially since we don't want to hold these territories and only Marienburg itself. Did that do anything for our diplomacy? Does not look like it, other than the potential peace with Mousillon, though that's not going to happen either. Alright, looking pretty good. We can upgrade the fort immediately, but we're not going to do that either. Not at 5k in the early game. If somebody attacks it, then, well, let's just hope the peasants can hold. We are going to do Venerate the... No, we're going to do Realm of Chivalry. Research rate plus 10, and a little bit of bonus chivalry. Nothing crazy, but certainly worth our time. And I believe we're ready to end the turn, so skip, and wait. Do we want to build anything at Grungzint? I guess we can build a stone cutter. We don't have to collect income in order to make use of it, after all. Yeah. We are going to need public order at Marienburg, though. The growth here is relatively small. You know what? I'm going to uncollect the income here at Marienburg briefly, as the bonus growth that is given an SFO from that is going to come in handy. I'm honestly a little bit tempted to do it with Couronne as well, just so we could get the tier 2 faster. Yeah, it's a fairly significant change in cash, but at the same time, maybe worth our time. We should also keep an eye on the recruitable lords. I'm sure there will eventually come a lord that is a... that gives bonuses to our Did we build anything here? No. That gives bonuses to our settlements, and that's the type of lord we'd want here. Alright, Castle Artois. I wonder. We have lost sight of you, unfortunately. I would like to know whether Kem is still there. The Red Duke. And what you want, a peace treaty. Would you give us more money? Actually, no, you know what? It would probably be a bad idea to peace out. I mean, it's free money. What's the likelihood that we are able to attack him within the next 10 turns? It is actually possible. You know what? I'm gonna not do this. We may be able to move out over there. Alright, now let's see what we're looking at. So Couronne is growing nicely. Marienburg is growing less nicely, but still growing. Let's send Avril Mercier right here. Right, wait. Right here. Is KEMMLER still here? Yes, he is. Fantastic. Does he have a full garrison? Ooh. He is building up some Graveguard plus his full stack, but nonetheless, I think that we can take the opportunity to attack him. I hope that the enemy won't immediately then take the opportunity to attack Fort Berg-Bray, but we shall see. Now, KEMMLER, you are not at war with anybody, but you don't like us very much, and it is inevitable that we will get into a war with you, so we may as well fight you. We want the Wardens of Montfort here. At 1500, they're a little bit steep, but another archery unit won't be amiss in this particular battle. Yeah, fine. They may be more peasants, but we'll transfer them to a peasant army later on, where they belong. You're gonna go right here, Louen. Go past Gisoro, and then you're gonna attack these guys. And declare war. Yes, indeedly. Like so, and we will attack you in a second. I want to see what the charge bonus is. Oh, it's already 80 on the Pegasus Knights. And, well, obviously all the Knights have pretty crazy charge. And I'm still going to put it on the Pegasus Knights. They're the most likely to engage in cycle charging, and thus the most likely to be used for that particular purpose. Avril, you're going to move on in close by. We really just need you here to leech XP and to also provide that much-needed Earthblood. Do we want to raise a lord here, though? Bonus Chivalry. Honorable, chivalry per turn. Oh, they all give you chivalry per turn. Okay, fantastic. I don't really like any of these, unfortunately. I do have +2 control, but it's also not that much. What about the lords? Oh, you guys have 4 per turn. Yeah, but you're also more costly. And while you would be more effective at fighting, don't get me wrong, I'm not sure that we'd be willing to pay that much extra per turn. Oh, but they're you know what? I'll decide after we fight. Let's continue fighting instead. Louen, assuming that we have gotten no new items, which we have not. There's another hedge wizard that we could give to you. Almost seems odd for a paladin to be toting a hedge wizard around, doesn't it? Doesn't feel like that would be something that they would appreciate, but anyway. Last battle of the episode. Huh. I just realized we can't attack because we don't have siege attack. Okay, fine. We'll do this. I have a feeling they're going to attack us in the field, which would work very well for us if they did. I would most definitely prefer it. And just in case, though, we will then need to generate a new lord, and we're gonna go with, I guess, you, intelligent. Mostly because I feel like we should probably do Earth. Well, then again, Control +2 would also be helpful. It's not like there's that much of a difference, other than the upfront costs. Yeah, alright, we'll do you. Control +2. I really wish there was a better one available. Wow, you have +4 chivalry per turn. Huh. That's actually better. But it's also the plus chivalry per turn, probably not that significant anyway. I'll just do you. Right there, and you stay in Fort Berg-Bray, and hopefully, if they attack, this will be sufficient. Are there any breaches in the wall? It doesn't look like it, or at least it doesn't say it. Anyway, I believe that's it. That's all, which means we can end the turn, yes? Peasant's duty is good. Let's double check quick deals, and we're good there as well. Turn. Alright, KEMMLER. I'm sure you want to deal with Louen in the field, don't you? Yes, indeed you do. Fantastic. Gonna get some great battles this episode. Last battle of the episode, however, let's see what we can do against old Kem.
Lances ready!
Alrighty, lances may be ready, but let's hope that there are enough of them. And this time around, 4,000 undead stand before us, and they do have some very nice elites in the form of the Hex Wraiths, my favorite unit in the game, as well as Cairn Wraiths, and of course KEMMLER, Krell, a Strigoi, and a Vampire. Plus the, otherwise odd 3,800 zombies, skeletons, graveguard, etc, etc, etc. Anyway, in terms of the setup for this particular battle, we're taking a page out of the Assault on Fort Berg-Bray book and have peeled away our elites to act on their own, whereas the mob of peasants here are once again going to serve as a massive distraction. They're going to sit here and they're going to hopefully allow us to split the enemy army in half, and not in a good way, and destroy as many units while those others are busy with, well, killing the peasants. Alright, well, let's see if it works out for us, shall we? Before we get started on the battle, however, one quick note. Just like my previous Malekith campaign, I'm going to do a bit of a threshold thing with regards to some bonuses for scheduling in this particular campaign. So if this episode gets, let's say, 500 likes and 50 comments, I will post 2 episodes tomorrow. So keep that in mind for those interested, and don't forget to drop those algorithm likes and comments below. Anyway, we're going to start the battle off by annoying the enemy as best we can with the Wardens of Montfort. Probably won't be using too many mounted yeomen throughout this campaign, but I did say that I will be building an all-peasant army, and I'm sure they'll have some mounted yeomen available to them. Otherwise, it looks like it's time to hunt, so our Pegasus Knights will fly forward towards the enemy Fellbats and absolutely rip them apart extremely quickly. And the same can be said of the Knights Errant, who are going to act on their own, charging directly through 2 enemy units of skeletons and zombies. And look at that glorious bloody charge. Oh, there's a unit of crypt ghouls in here as well. There we go. And obviously this is the Knights Errant, who are anti-infantry as opposed to the anti-large Knights of the Realm. And the goal here will be to charge directly through these 2 units. We've halved their HP just from the charge, and then we're going to simply wheel around and then back out, rather than continue to be engaged. And beautiful. While the Knights Errant back away, the Knights of the Realm, led by Louen himself as well as his paladin, are going to stream down the hill and into these enemy Cairn Wraiths. We are going to have to deal with these guys sooner or later, and it's better that we mob them with our most elite units so that they're destroyed ASAP. Gotta remember that in SFO, unlike vanilla, the Wraiths, the ethereal units in general, have been rebuffed so they have perfect vigor and 75% physical resistance. The ghostly units are very, very scary in SFO. So, yeah, I want them gone before they can achieve too much. It looks like the Pegasus Knights have managed to destroy pretty much all the Fellbats up here, though unfortunately, the enemy has sent their Hex Wraiths forward and into our peasants. This means the peasants are pretty much screwed here, as even with all of the focus by the range units, the Hex Wraiths are not going to go down. But we are sending our Pegasus Knights away to help out with this. While I was reasonably sure that the peasants could distract for a little while against the zombies and skeleton warriors, they can't do so against the Hex Wraiths, so Pegasus Knights will help. And charge right back right into the back of the Hex Wraiths means they will begin dissipating. A very nice charge. And you gotta remember the massive bonus we have on the charge for those Pegasus Knights, 132 charge bonus. Though to be noted, charge bonus is not really something you want to stack after a certain point, as it definitely suffers diminishing returns. Alrighty, and it looks like the cairn rates, while not quite destroyed, are at the very least beginning to crumble, and we're going to get our Knights of the Realm the heck out of there, rather than continuing to be engaged in melee. I'm gonna back off the Knights Errant as well, and leave this pile of enemy units to their own devices. The Knights of the Realm will instead head here to where the peasants have been distracting the enemy, in the hopes of charging them in the back, as in the enemy that are held by our peasant anvil, our peasant distraction force. Peasant distraction force, EDF. So that explains the incompetence and the massive casualties. Alrighty, well, still, credit where it's due. Anyway, here come the Knights Errant right into the back of these Grave Guard with great swords, and it's better that we knock these guys out as well, as obviously their armor piercing is very much a threat to our knights. Back here, Louen and his paladin are peeling away, and we're going to allow the enemy extremely slow-moving zombies and skeletons to take their time in getting back to us, while we once again destroy their army piecemeal. Alrighty, send those skeletons back to the grave. There we go. And another charge. Sometimes we can use knights as hammer and anvil. And I expect that will be true of Louen's final army as well. Anyway, the enemy reinforcements have also arrived in the form of a Strigoi and a few skeletons and such, so we will have to send in a few units to protect the rear of our army, but that'll be okay. Balance of power has at this point shifted to our favor, and the enemy is, well, still reasonably separated, but has still grouped a decent amount of enemies around KEMMLER and Krell here. Wait, where's Krell? I know he was out there. He's just standing beside KEMMLER, which is, I guess, where he belongs. Alrighty, there we go. Ooh, this is a nice shot. Charging through those crypt ghouls in the middle of this forested area here. And it looks like the crypt ghouls will begin to crumble away as well. Beautiful. Alrighty, but it looks like there's more where that came from, as a pile of zombies tries to mob our unit of men-at-arms, though their losses we don't particularly care about. We just gotta wait until the enemy is held in place to charge them once again with all of our knights. Speaking of knights charging, once again through these piles of enemies, there we go. Oh man, I am having so much fun with this particular battle. And in general, I'm really enjoying Bretonnia so far. And this whole wheeling around in these piles of infantry is just really working for me. Alright, charge on through and then get the heck out of there. Alright, at least one of the enemy units has begun to crumble based off of that charge, and we will back off. Winded on our units, active on one of the knights, at least by virtue of them not sticking around constantly in combat, they are able to not be exhausted. And there we go. Merely zombies, but still, a charge is a charge. Very, very nice. Alrighty, and yet another charge and another half HP gone from a unit of skeleton warriors. This must be so irritating for the enemy. Well, that's their problem, I suppose. Let's see how we're doing. The Pegasus Knights have found an isolated enemy necromancer and have surrounded him, and are going to kill him without too much trouble, just like they killed those Marienburger Empire captains and Empire generals. Much easier, mind you, to kill a necromancer as well. KEMMLER is somewhat isolated, but he does have another necromancer nearby, as well as a unit of Graveguard and some more skeletons skeleton warriors and zombies. The enemy vampire is nearly dead, but Krell is still more or less at full HP, and he is a scary boy. Magical attacks, sundering armor, 110 armor, and plenty of weapon strength as well. Can't really be fighting him like this, at least not easily. How you doing, by the way, Krell? Hasn't managed to kill anybody. Well, he did do 4.3k damage, and that was to Louen, who is now at half HP. Here comes Krell rushing towards our units of peasant archers, but not to worry. While he deals with that, the rest of his army is getting repeatedly cycle charged. And I'm certainly willing to sacrifice a couple of units of peasants just to distract Krell while we kill off the rest of KEMMLER's army. And in fact, doing that on purpose now, so it's not just the peasant archers, but the men-at-arms as well. It looks like the enemy's reinforcements are here and are about to hit us in the back, which makes the battle a little bit more interesting, but it looks like a sufficient amount of the enemy main army has been destroyed at this point, such that it's not super concerning anymore. Alright, just gotta kill off the enemy vampiress here as well. We gotta reduce the enemy lord and hero count. More leadership shocks would be very much appreciated. And oh wow, that's a lot of arrows suddenly. Alright, nice splash hit, and KEMMLER, or Krell rather, still distracted, but KEMMLER will soon be attacked as well, as his guards have been pretty much destroyed. The second necromancer caught, and by the looks of it destroyed, or will be soon destroyed rather, by our Pegasus Knights. Now we can go after KEMMLER. Or actually, we can go after the Strigoi here. Charge right through the ranks of the peasants. Who cares how many of our own we trample, because they're not really our own, they're only peasants. They live to be trampled underfoot by their betters. Alrighty. And the skeletons are distracting our units a little bit, preventing us from easily making our way towards the Strigoi. But fortunately, he's making his way towards Louen and the Paladin himself. Alright, and there we go, he's found the Paladin at the very least. And it looks like his skeletons have begun to crumble away as well. A nice little jump. Too bad they never added an animation of of vampires being affected by holy icons and stuff. Well, that might be irritating for those who play vampires. Alright, poor little pile of skeletons getting completely surrounded and overwhelmed by knights, though, and it looks like the enemy army is soon to begin crumbling away. The bounce power is about 80% in our favor. The Strigoi is in critical binding. Krell is still fighting, but we could just ignore him for now. And it looks like KEMMLER has been caught by the Pegasus Knights. Now, they've killed his two pet necromancers, and they've worked their way up to KEMMLER himself. And beautiful. And oh, it looks like Krell is done with those men-at-arms, sending them running and terrified, and is looking to move in and help KEMMLER out. But it looks like with the death of the rest of his army, both KEMMLER and Krell will begin to crumble.
Fight! Kill! Our lives depend on it!
Alrighty, well, now you just have to distract. Down goes KEMMLER, under the mob of distraction peasants, and only Krell remains on the field. How you doing, by the way, Krelly? Let's take a look at you. 138 kills, very nice, and nearly 16k damage as well. Still, well, I was about to say still alive, but perhaps not quite the right word, but still fighting at the very least. Man, what a great fight. Alrighty, and poor Krell will just die here. Slowly but surely. Here comes Louen and the Paladin to deliver the final blow. And down goes Krell. There we are, close victory, and certainly we did take damage, but the Peasant Distraction Force served their purpose once again, and all that maneuvering from the Knights worked out really, really well. The forests were a little bit of an issue, as they obviously interfere with our knightly units, and interfere with their capabilities and mobility, but we had enough clearings to destroy the enemy army piecemeal, as we planned. Ooh, close victory and an absolutely glorious one. In my opinion, it was really fun wheeling those knights around, repeatedly getting all those cycle charges in through those ranks of thousands or hundreds to thousands of, well, 4,000 enemies, so yeah, thousands of zombies and skeletons. Beautiful. I absolutely did forget how much of a monster Krell is in SFO, because damn is he scary, and well, Leuen's not ready for him yet, at least not one-on-one. Otherwise, we did pretty good, decent 17k damage on our little Wardens of Montfort unit. The archers this time around didn't do too much, but that's hardly surprising because they're not going to be super effective against the zombies and all those other basic units. Not to worry, the knights absolutely cleaned house, and it looks like the knights errant did much more damage than the Knights of the Realm this time around, probably due to their anti-infantry capabilities. Well done. Alrighty, and we got something of a reward money-wise and stuff, but more importantly, we got ourselves another castle, so that's the real reward. We need a new base to, to oppress peasants from. Since we don't have a mobile oppression palace, we have to have a immobile one. We do... I was about to say, we do not really need the training field here, but that's not necessarily true. If anything, we may want to get rid of the training field at Couronne, because there's more important stuff to be built there, and keep it somewhere else. Though I'll think about it. Anyway, spell resistance for Lord's army for defeating Krell, but KEMMLER, a royal Pegasus for Louen, and a regular Pegasus for Matthias, which will allow them to reposition themselves. And on top of that, it looks like KEMMLER didn't really reposition anybody else, which means we'll be freely able to take Gisoro and then move on to Blackstone Post. And that said, we're gonna have to look into doing that next time around, because we're obviously out of time, and well, I wasn't originally intending to have 3 cinematic battles in one episode because it massively increases the editing, but what can you do? A glorious episode at the very least. Next time, we will probably destroy the Barrow Legion, then move on to Mousillon, and we'll see what we see afterwards, as we do have the Broken Axe to contend with as well, and then we'll have to return to Couronne before the Shadow Legion declares war on us, which is an inevitability, especially as they are not currently at war with anybody. Stay tuned for more peasant crushing, Louen. Don't forget to leave a like and comment. All glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.